Okay, so good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, November 13th, 2020. The time is, am I early? Oh, right on, 11 a.m. And this is a special meeting for the County Board of Canvassers, where we canvass the most recent election, which just occurred earlier this month, a national election at that, plus local. Attending are Commissioners Duncan and Filios, and joining us by phone is Commissioner Bill Brooks. Also presenting to us is our clerk, Jim Brannon, and our elections supervisor, Shelley Amos. And do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. And so we'll proceed to our one and only and very important item, which is to canvass the November 3rd, 2020 general election pursuant to Idaho Code 34-1205. Also joining us by phone is our prosecutor, Barry McHugh. Clerk Brannon, please.
Thank you, Chairman Filios, and before I go any further, obviously an official congratulations to you and to Bill Brooks on re-election and to Barry McHugh on re-election.
Thank you.
I know that it was a tight race and you were all very, very nervous of the way it was going to turn out. But, and so there we have it. That's enough of the sarcasm for Jim today.
There you go.
The rest of it is going to be very serious. I want to say a special thanks before I even get started to all the support that we got from other county departments in the form of employees helping us getting new equipment, and we couldn't have done it. We could not have pulled off the election without that support of the board and everyone throughout the county. So thank them very much. What I would like to do is I would like to do something a little bit unusual. I would like to read the canvass narrative into the public record. What you have, and Bill, I will email you one of these as soon as I can. I should have emailed you one when I found out you were going to be by phone. My apologies, sir.
That's fine. Thank you, Jim.
I will get this to you because this election brought a lot of different things. So it's broken down into components. You have that as a matter of public record. This is by precinct, and I just thought you might enjoy seeing how the various precincts voted for all of the offices. You can analyze it, scan it, do whatever you need to do, but this is by reporting by precinct, which is on the county website. Okay, so with that, I would like to read the canvass into the record. Thank you, Nancy. So the general canvass actions and outcome. The machine accuracy was verified in accordance with Idaho Code 34-216. 3 850 DS850 digital scan tabulators were tested by Ronnie Davidson at 10:03 a.m. on November 2nd, 2020. Witnessing this test were County Commissioner Leslie Duncan, myself, Chief Deputy Clerk Jennifer Locke, ES&S Account Manager Trent Slotman, Prosecuting Attorney Barry McHugh, Taylor Vido from Kim 2 News, and Ayanna Likens from KHQ. The machines were tested again on November 3rd at 8:15 a.m. before any ballots were counted, and a final time at 2:32 a.m. on November 4th after all votes were counted. Each machine showed a 100% agreement with the test deck in every test, and all three machines were used for this election. And before I go into the next section, I would ask commissioners if there are any questions about that.
Oh,
All right, well,
fine.
thank you. I'll go on to the second section of the canvass, which is public notification and turnout. The first unofficial election results were posted online at 8:17 p.m. and the final unofficial election results were posted online at 2:31 a.m. on November 4th, 2020. The unofficial precinct totals were posted the next day at 9:44 a.m., including absentee totals. 90,519 votes were cast in the selection, an average voter turnout of over 87%. Any questions of anything there?
No, sir.
All right, I will move on to the third section. Audits performed by election staff in compliance with Idaho Code 341202. Absentee ballots for voters who requested them for the November general election were sent out beginning September 16th. A total of 47,661 ballots were mailed, and valid ballots returned were 41,953. During this period, 92 were cast during early voting. Early voting absentee and mailed out absentee totaled 51,375. The number of return ballots that were not valid was 224. This included 50 ballots received after the 8 p.m. November 3rd deadline. There were 157 ballots rejected for invalid signatures. During online registration, 20 individuals did not provide accurate identification required to register, and there were 3 miscellaneous issues. Only 78 ballots were returned as undeliverable. The new electronic poll books and on-demand printers were true assets in making this a successful election. These poll books are now being compared to the registration cards and issuing tickets for early voting and election day. Any questions on that section?
Jim, in the second paragraph, it reads 151 ballots. I think you said 157. I'm sorry?
151.
It is
Thank
151.
you. And just as an aside, to make this a little more interesting, 3 miscellaneous issues. I would like to talk about one that I really enjoyed seeing. You know, we have our Uniform and Overseas Citizen Voting Act, UOCAVA voters. They can vote without an actual, ballot. They can just send in information as long as we have their tracking mechanism. And we had one ballot in the miscellaneous issues that was for Trump and Harris. That is what was written in. So that is obviously not a valid ballot. So that is the kind of miscellaneous issues we encounter. All right, moving on to staff performance. The elections team, and I'd like to name them personally, Angela, Asa, and Linda and Rose, they were exemplary during an adverse situation with minimal management input due to circumstances beyond our control. We had members of our management team working from home, but it's not quite the same as being there. And so I want to thank our elections team, the other county employees, temporary employees, and especially our Idaho Secretary of State for their assistance in making this a successful election. Questions on that?
Thank you to your team, Jim. Seriously.
The next thing is poll worker performance. We operated 53 polling locations on Election Day, staffed with 435 workers. The number of new judges and poll workers for this election was unprecedented. This was the first time working the polls for 16 judges and 282 poll workers. Kootenai County also received 14 poll workers sent from the Secretary of State to assist with the election. Overall performance was excellent. Any questions on that?
No,
And
sir.
now the unusual factors. I don't even know where to start, but let's start with the first paragraph. This election brought the challenge of COVID and numerous new poll workers. These factors, combined with the fact that Kootenai County now has 103,552 registered voters, presented several logistical issues. And just for good measure, the Secretary of State's new software system was introduced and implemented statewide for use during this election. All right, this next section I really do want to cover this. I think it's very, very important. Emotions were very high in Kootenai County for this election. To discuss security concerns, I met with representatives of the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, the Post Falls Police Department, the Rathdrum Police Department, the Spirit Lake Police Department, and our Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. In an effort to provide a safe, nonpartisan polling place due to the passion of the voters, I requested guidance on electioneering from the Secretary of State's office and the Kootenai County legal team. The guidance I received did not contradict established policies that have been enforced during my tenure as clerk. However, during a poll worker training, one of the former poll workers reached out to another organization regarding Kootenai County's policy on electioneering. A member of this organization then reached out to the Adams County Prosecutor, who sought a state attorney general's opinion on Kootenai County procedures. The only time that I recall being involved in Adams County business is the one time when one of my fixed asset accountants removed a Kootenai County police car from our county asset list. Commissioners Dan Green and Mark Eberline approved the car's donation to Adams County in September of 2015. Our county had 8,222 election day and early voting registrations, nearly double the entire population of Adams County. Why their prosecutor felt it necessary to involve himself in Kootenai County business is still a mystery. The opinion given by Brian Kane of the Attorney General's office expressed concerns with individuals' constitutional rights and referenced active versus passive electioneering. Story of this opinion was published in the Coeur d'Alene Press. Many people began pushing the envelope on electioneering, making for very tense polling places, especially those located at schools. I did not question the opinion of Attorney General Kane, Deputy Attorney General Kane. Electioneering in Kootenai County was enforced with his opinion. I realize this is a lot of information, but I feel it's a serious issue when elected officials from other counties start second-guessing other elected officials. Electioneering was the most time-consuming issue for my understaffed clerk's office during this election. I have spoken with the Idaho Association of Counties and have been advised by its executive director, Seth Grigg, that this serious issue will be brought up at future trainings for new elected officials and in prosecutor trainings. The electronic poll books, express votes, and new computer stations greatly increased efficiency during the election, and I want to thank the board for the new technology you authorized that will carry us into the future. And with that, are there any questions on the unusual factors in this election?
Yes, Jim, I do have a question. The third paragraph under unusual factors in this election,
Yeah?
you make reference to a poll worker that reached out to another organization, which in turn seemed to precipitate the involvement of the Adams County Prosecutor and then the Secretary of State's office. Which organization was that? Do you know?
Yes, I do. Idaho Freedom Foundation.
So the IFF then contacted Adams County Prosecutor?
I did a public records request, and that is how it plays out, yes.
Why not come here?
That would be a question, and I think you could ask that of the prosecutor who is here with us right now on the call. Unbelievable, in my opinion, absolutely unbelievable. I was also linked, I'm on his Facebook page with a link of the Coeur d'Alene Press story. I can't speak for somebody else's motivation. I can speak to the problems that I had without any of my management team available. All I dealt with was electioneering all day, and it's still not over.
Meaning?
Meaning there's still issues going on right now about electioneering. We had people very, very tense at the schools. The other thing I want to say is the policy that I have implemented. This is something that former elections manager and I, Carrie Phillips and I, laminated in 2014. The very first thing says you may not show, wear, or hand out anything. If the opinion, which is not a ruling, and there's no case laws, if the opinion is correct, and I'm certainly not going to argue with Deputy Attorney General Kane and his opinion. He went to law school, I never did. My point is, this is how it's been done ever since I've been clerk. The clerks of Ada County, Canyon County, Twin Falls County, Bannock County, Bonneville County, in other words, counties with a lot of people have always enforced this. I do know that I saw Facebook posts asking people not to do it. But once the story hit the press, then it's like, how far can we go? How close can we make things? And I heard from both sides, how dare you allow electioneering? And then, you know, I'm more than 100 feet away. Why am I getting hassled? If people would mind their own business and mind their own counties, we wouldn't have had this issue, period.
Okay. Barry, did you want to jump in here?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
yeah.
we can. Yeah.
Okay. So, I know the way that Jim recounted the timing is in the circumstances is correct to my knowledge, and as much as the prosecutor indicated he was not trying to get into our business, the reality is he didn't communicate with us. Did get a message from Dustin Hurst, I think, from the Freedom Foundation. I left a message for him and then didn't get a return call. So it appeared that, they were interested in getting an opinion from another prosecuting attorney rather than communicating with my office or with Jim.
Okay. Where do we go from here?
Well, I know what I'm doing.
Go right ahead.
I had long discussions with Seth Grigg, and our Idaho Association of Counties is only good if we work together.
Sure.
Because if you think about it, where does it go next? Does the Republican clerk of Kootenai County start looking over the Democratic prosecutor in Latah County? This is a big deal and needs to stop now.
Okay. So I guess that concludes our discussion.
If we could get a a motion.
Yes, sir,
to
we can.
have this canvas approved, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Bill, that you may have after you get a chance to read what's written, or anybody else, happy to answer.
Bill, any questions?
No, it sounds like a very thorough explanation of what's going on. I'm very, happy with what Jim's presented us and confident.
And,
Thank you, Bill.
Jim, I do have a question, and it's probably fairly basic. If a ballot is postmarked prior to, November 3rd, but received afterwards, not good, huh?
It is
Not acceptable.
Not counted in Kootenai County. That is a hard deadline that our legislature thankfully has established, because this is part of the problems we're seeing, where ballots are coming in 8 to 10 to 12 to 25, 30 days late. In our case, we only had 78 undeliverable, but I think of bigger areas, that number could be 780 or 7,800. So yes, must be in the elections office at 8 p.m. on election day.
Yeah, Shelley, please.
One thing that happened was.
Can you come to the microphone?
Just bend the mic down.
State your name, too.
Shelley Amos, for the record. We worked with the Postal Service, and they contacted us on Election Day, and reprographics went down at 6 o'clock and picked up every ballot that they had that day so that they would be counted. And they brought them to
Thank
the
you.
elections office so that would not be an issue, and that everybody's ballot would count, even down to the last minute, just so you
That's
know.
awesome.
It's almost a sacred right, and we need to defend it and do everything we can, so thank you so much for doing that.
And there was, we received ballots in our box from Alaska. We got one from Buffalo, New York, and we got several Washington and several Ada County. People just dropped them in the elections box. So what we did with those ballots is, as soon as we saw them, we sent them away. But actually, it kind of is an interesting story that one of our ballots went to Spokane, and they contacted us saying, we'll mail it to you. Well, no, it doesn't matter. We're not going to get it in time. So they put it in the mail, and that ballot was received after the deadline. How it got to Spokane, I don't know, but I think, we have seen our post office, this election nationwide has been overwhelming for elections officials and probably postal officials as well.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. Buffalo, New York.
Okay,
All right.
so then, let's have a motion.
All right. I move that the County Board of Canvassers approve the canvass of November 3rd, 2020 general election pursuant to Idaho Code 34-1205.
I second the motion. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is carried, and so the November 3rd, 2020 General Canvass Actions and Outcomes is hereby approved by the Board of County Commissioners. Public comment? Hearing none. Once again, thank you, Clerk Brannon. Thank you, Shelley Amos, and special thanks to your staff and all the wonderful poll workers who worked tirelessly in a very, very challenging time. Time is now 11:25. Meeting adjourned.
Do you want